Hello, crafty friends. This is your Let's Make the Inside as Pretty as the Outside card maker, Anna Marie from Just Stamp. Welcome in today's Coffee in the Classroom. We're going to learn some techniques that help you create the cards that help you reach out and connect. So at first glance, this Lily of the Valley card looks pretty, right? But then, surprise! We're sending someone an entire bouquet without paying a florist or searching for a vase that they'll never use again. Today I'm going to show you how to create this interactive pop-up vase. It stands up when the card's open with your vase. It folds flat when it's closed, and it fits inside the standard envelope. This card should require just one postage stamp for easy mailing. And yes, it is much easier than it looks. There's a few tabs involved, but we're paper crafters, we can do it. I'm simply labeling my parts to help me remind. So before we begin, who would like to send a surprise bouquet? Who would you send it to? One of the things I love most about the handmade cards is that we aren't just making pretty things, we're creating the little moments that connect and make people feel special. So flowers are nice, but they usually fade and they wilt. The little paper bouquet sits on somebody's desk or mantel, nightstand, and it reminds them of how much they are loved long after their birthday or any occasion has passed. So this particular project features the Lily of the Valley. It happens to be the focus of my monthly class, the Just Stamp Guided Workshop. This project is an inspirational project. It's not included in the class, but it is something that you could create with some of the supplies you'll have left over from the class kit. So once you've created all the 4 guided projects, you can create something like this. My goal is always to help you, well, what now? Figure it out. Many things are possible. So let's take a quick look at how the card works before we start assembling it. So when it opens up, there is a mechanism that pulls and makes the vase pop up. There's a little cardstock stopper that controls where the mechanism stops. When we close the card, it's going to collapse flat, and that's how we get it into the envelope. So it's kind of like having a little stagehand behind the curtain. So before we get started, let's look at the supplies we're going to need. They're very simple. And again, I have labeled my pieces. Some of the pieces pre-scored and added adhesive just to help me along. All right. By the way, if you're watching live, let me know you're watching. Say hello, where you're from. I always want to know that I'm being watched. If you like the project, give me a thumbs up. If you really like it, share it with somebody and create it. All right, my friends, here we go. We're going to start with the card base. I'm using Pretty Peacock. It's a standard 8.5 by 5.5 card base, scored at 4 1/4. I also have the stopper we talked about. I mentioned it just a second ago. It's 1/2 inch by 2 inches, and I've applied a little bit of adhesive at both ends of the short side. And then we've got a mechanism. The mechanism is about 3 7/8 by 3/4. I scored it at 3/8, and I already put on my little bit of adhesive. And by the way, I am using tear and tape. We'll talk about that in just a second. For white, for the insert, I'm using basic white. It's, let's see, that's not 4.5 by 5. Let me tell you, I believe it's 3 3/4. Let me have a quick look. It's wrong in my helping guide. It's 3 3/4 by 5. Okay, 3 3/4 by 5. You can see I've pre-stamped it. I wanted to try and prep things and get the little details worked out. We're also going to need some white for stamping. My pattern paper, this is the vase. It's 2 1/4 by 5 inches. I have scored it at 1 inch, at 4 inch, and then I rotated it and I scored it at 3/4 of an inch and 1 1/2. Now we're going to do a little bit of snipping in just a minute. I've also pre-applied the tear and tape. So on the 2 tabs that are on the left, I put 2 strips of tear and tape on the top tab and the bottom half. Then I flipped it over and I applied tear and tape to the center tab. It's that easy. Okay, so if you're thinking, Anna Marie, looks like too much measuring, too fussy, don't panic. I have a guided tutorial. Be sure you're on my mailing list. It's going to be delivered on Friday. I'll post a link in the comments below just in case you're not on the list. You do want to get on the list. There's lots of tutorials and fun things that go out every month. So let's start preparing the card base. All right, so I mentioned I'm going to move these things aside so I don't lose them. All right, the first thing I'm going to do, you got it. Take your bone folder, fold and burnish. So you could use your paper trimmer to help you with that perfect fold. I did the corner to corner technique. So there's my card base. I'm going to open that up and I am going to adhere my insert. And I am using my favorite Tombow liquid glue. And you know the rule, it's dot, dot, not a lot. We want to make sure it gets stuck, but it doesn't need to be stuck for the ages, right? Okay, so there's my dot, dot, not a lot. I had pre-stamped my greeting and a little lily, and I'm going to place it so I have an equal border on all sides. And then just press and burnish. You can always flip it over and run that bone folder through so it makes nice contact. So we're going to stay working with the inside of the card base. All right, so let's look at the patterned vase. So I used, again, one of the patterns. By the way, I'm using the paper called Valley in Bloom. It is a coordinating paper with the Lily of the Valley bundle. Let me take a sip of my coffee. I hope you were able to grab a little cup as well. This is just going to take a few minutes, not too long. Okay, so, and I also have a little mock-up over here to share with you. So this is what the vase looks like, unscored, uncut. So it's 2 1/4 by 5 inches, and I'm going to score this particular one with you. I'm using my paper trimmer. So I want to score it 1 inch. Remember, we're scoring, not cutting, so push that dark piece up to the top. Score down, and then 4 inches. So push it over to the 4, like so. Okay, so long side 1 4 inch. I'm going to rotate it, and this time I'm going to score at 3/4 of an inch, but I'm only going to score up to that intersecting score line. So I'm going to bring it down to, oops, almost used my cutting. Well, actually that one wouldn't have been that critical. We are going to wind up cutting it off anyway. So score it up, 1 inch up, and then we're also going to have to do the bottom half. So this is the 4 inch line. We're going to score from the score line, the intersecting score line, to the end. We're going to push it over to 1 1/2, and we're going to repeat. So let's start from the top, so down to the 1 inch intersecting score line, and then again from 4 inches to the end of the paper. And so here we go. You can see the score lines better on the solid paper. And I'm just going to fold those because we're going to need to cut these. So again, this is just my sample. You can see I've pre-done it. I do need my paper snips. And on the left, I'm going to remove that center tab. So I'm going to cut up on the score line up to the intersecting line. And we want to cut this center tab off. So fold those back, cut it off. All right, so there we go. Then on the right side, we're going to keep that center tab. We're going to remove the two outer tabs. So let's go ahead and cut on the score line up to the intersecting tab. Sorry, intersecting score line. And then remember, we're removing now the outer tabs. So we're going to cut and remove and cut and remove. There we go. So very easy to create the vase. The next step we're going to do is apply the tear and tape adhesive. So by the way, this is one of those times when you want to look twice, snip once, because paper is unforgiving. Once it's been cut, it's not going to grow back. So cut away the tabs carefully. Add the tear and tape on the front of the vase at the two tabs, top and bottom. And then you're going to flip it over and add the tear and tape on the single tab in the center. That's the back side. So I like the tear and tape because this is a mechanism that's going to move each time the card's open. We want a strong adhesive holding everything in place. If you're preparing your pieces in advance, just don't remove that covering so that things don't start sticking where they're not supposed to. All right, let me take a sip. We are doing well here. All right, so let's add the mechanism. The mechanism is that 3 3/8 inch piece. Sorry, 3 7/8 inch. It happens to be 3/4 wide. And I have scored it at 3/8 of an inch. So that little tiny score right there. And I'm going to go ahead and add my tiny piece of tear and tape on the side. This, let's see, that would be the valley fold side. So that's going to be added there. This is the connection that is going to pull our vase. So this, originally I did it in white. It shows a little bit better that way. This time I'm doing it in pretty peacock. I kind of want it to hide. I don't want it to be seen so easily. All right, so we've got that going. We're next going to take our time in positioning this piece. So I'm going to move my card base out. We're working with the base and the mechanism. And what we're going to do, let's see. We need to position these correctly. And it goes. And I'm going to think this through. Let me come in with my prototype here. Okay, so this is going to go here. That's why I've got a tab there. So I'm going to flip that over. And this piece gets adhered to the single tab that's on the right. So I've kind of flipped my base over. That's kind of why I'm not thinking properly. Anna Marie's getting herself confused. So flip it over. We're going to adhere it to the center tab here. And sometimes when it's hard to remove the tear and tape, just use your thumbnail to kind of burnish it down a little bit better. So what's important right here is that you have everything straight in line. So again, take your time, position it right to the score line and bring it straight out. All right, so let me make sure. Let's have a look and see what we've done. Make sure we're doing this right. So I'm going to flip that over. Here's my vase. Here's my mechanism. Now what I'm going to do is swing this all the way. Let me think. It's going to wind up this way. There we go. And my brain has to wrap around the right and left. Okay, so we're looking at the base, pretty side up. Let's flip that over. Let's swing it to the right. We are going to abut this. We can unfold that. We're going to abut this little tab, that 3/8 inch tab, to the right of the score line. Now, let me back up a little bit. Lots of times I use the word abut. If you've ever read one of my tutorials, you will see it frequently. Abut is one of those technical terms. It simply means the pieces should touch, or the score lines should touch without overlapping. So kind of like snug neighbors, not in your face roommates. Okay, so let's go ahead and remove that tear and tape. It's a tiny little strip. And I'm going to flip that, and I am going to place this so the top of my mechanism should be about 1 3/4 inches from the bottom of the card. And we want that vase to clear. So let's see. Make sure I'm doing this right, because let's see, that's going to flip over that way. Okay, I'm good. So again, I've got it. Let me line that down. At the bottom of my vase, pretty much at the bottom of the insert, this is going to score. And here again, you want to make sure everything is aligned nicely. Abut that mechanism end to the score line on the right. There we go. So then we're going to flip this over. Okay, it's making sense now. We're going to flip it over, and it's going to be time to add these pieces of tear and tape. Oh, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let me get my stopper, because we want to tell the vase where it needs to stop. So again, here's my stopper, adhesive at top and bottom. Good morning, my friend Sandy Campbell. I'm so glad you joined. It's such a thrill when you join my demos, Sandy. I love it. Thank you for making time to click by. I have a cute little surprise birthday card. It's special. Send the flowers that won't wilt. Okay, so here's my little stopper. Here is the edge of my vase. I'm going to abut it again. Remember, that just means we're going to put it right up like a little neighbor, and it's going to adhere. So press down. There was no adhesive in the center, so it's going to be able to slide. And I'm going to flip that over. The magic is going to start to happen. All right. Let's help the pop-up. So we're going to remove the two backings from the vase, and again, burnish it down with your fingernail. If it needs extra help, you can always take your pick tool to get in and remove the adhesive. And again, if you're thinking too fussy, too complicated, the guided tutorial will be going out on Friday. So make sure you're on my email list so you get that. You have time. I'll put the link to join if you're not already on the list in the comments below. Okay, so here's where it takes a little bit of caution. What we're going to do, I start by folding the two tabs back. We are going to want to close our card so that the vase is flat when the card is closed. So just get your little fingers in there. Make sure. There we go. I'm pushing it all the way over. I don't want it to connect until my card is closed, so do it carefully. Pushing, and you can kind of see if I do it this way, these are going to go back flat. So, and because it's tear and tape, it's going to stick once it makes that contact. Okay, burnish down with your hand. Don't force it. Okay, so the vase collapses when the card's closed. So we're going to open it, close it, open, close. So don't force it. It's a pop-up card, not getting a workout. I'm loving it. What do you think? We've done the hard work so far. We have created that pop-up vase. You can see how it opens up with that mechanism, goes flat for closing and mailing. You can see it from the bottom there. Yeah, all right, so we are on. Let's fill the vase. We're going to fill it with the pre-cut flowers and greenery that I pre-cut from the bundle. I've got all my pieces here. Let's see if I can put them here. And I am going to be taking one of the outline dies, and I might want to snip that down just a little bit, and I'll tell you why. We want to make sure that everything is within the boundaries of the card. We don't want anything falling off the edge of the card. We are going to arrange the flowers and the greenery before we actually adhere. So I like to put the green, these beautiful granny green leaves up front. And you can, again, the leaf kind of has a different tip at ends. So we've got that going on. And I'm going to use probably about like 4 of these maybe there. And then we're going to do another one here. Let's do that. Okay, so let's put this down. We're going to arrange before we actually attach. And then I've pre-stamped and pre-die cut the smaller lily of the valley, which are going to go between those leaves. So let's see how I did that. See how they have varying heights. And that's one of my tips. Vary the height of the stems so the bouquet looks natural. And keep checking the flowers remain inside the boundary of the cards. Don't put too much adhesive towards the top of the stems. And you don't want the bouquet to be too bulky. You want it to look natural, not overstuffed. And it's going to be a cute little garden in a vase. Okay. All right, so that's kind of the extent of how I want my leaves to look. And I'm going to keep my reference open here. Now, my adhesive of choice here is the mini glue dot, and I'm going to be placing them at the front. So let's see. Let's take this one. We're going to put a little mini glue dot here, and I'm going to be adhering it to the front of, inside the vase. This one goes kind of at the front. So it's stuck there. I'm going to add another granny green. And let's see, I want this one a little bit higher. Glue dot. And a little bit higher. Oh, Anna Marie forgot to hear that outline. Let's see. For this one, I am going to use my liquid glue. Dot, dot, not a lot, right? A tiny, tiny bit behind each little buttercup flower. Lilies of the valleys are so sweet. Right through here. This one's going to go as tall as I can get it up here. Centered. The back. There we go. Pressing down. See how my glue is not oozing out because just little dots of glue. Put that aside. And I'm going to add, at this point, one of my little stems. And there's also little leaves on this one. So the way I colored this, I took my, let's see, I've got dark moody mauve, or you could use petunia pop or rich raspberry. And I used the bullet tip and just kind of put a little dot at the top of each little buttercup flower. For the leaves, I used granny apple green. I took my brush tip and I outlined the shadow areas. And then I blended it in with the light granny apple green. Again, the brush tip. So that's how those were colored. I'm going to go ahead and add one of the stems. And I'm going to push this up towards the top. with a few little leaves peeking out there. And you can, oops, that did not stick. I didn't apply enough pressure. Let's go back. Now, so that's the setback to the liquid glue, right? It takes a little bit of time to dry. There we go, just pressing again. Okay, so let's then add one of the smaller stems, and we're gonna put this at the front of the vase, peeking out right in there. Let's grab another Granny Apple Green leaf petal and glue dot. And bring it in. Remember, you want to be varying the height. So I'm coming in from below to push that little glue dot up on the vase. And let's add, let's go with one. Again, glue dot on the front. And bring it down. And you have got extra ones here. I think I'm going to add one more back there. I like, again, the varying height and a little bit of fullness. So it's like a little garden gone wild, a little arrangement gone wild. Pressing, oops. Now I just violated my little tip too high. That was going to fall off the perimeter. Let's bring it down a little bit lower. Voila. There we go. I like it. What do you think? So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Granny Apple Green leaf petals. It's your prerogative. Add as many as you like. I've got a nice full vase with Lily of the Valley. And let's check it. Everything falls within the card when it closes. Whoa, I love it. Such a great surprise, right? Okay, so if you need to reinforce any of these little connection points, you can always grab another mini glue dot. In this case, I might attach these two together just so they don't fall off. And again here, just a little glue dot behind and attaching it to the leaf so they're in position. All right, so let's decorate the front. For the front, here's what I've got. Let's see. First of all, I have a mess. We all know that's gonna happen, right? Where is, got it. Okay, so here are the pieces I have for the front. And let's see, this is a happy birthday card. You can see I kind of chomped the edge of that. That's okay, we're gonna fix it, right? Okay, so my pieces to decorate the front. I have a panel of the Valley and Bloom paper that I'm gonna place at the left. And this measures about, let's see, 1 3/4 by 5 1/4. It's gonna be flat adhered. I have a piece of the basic white, again, 5 1/4. This one measures about 2 1/8, I believe. Yep, 2 1/8. And I wanted to have that little gutter coming down there. I just felt like it added a little bit more color. You can see the difference. What do you think? There or there? I think it has a nice little effect by having that gutter there. So again, this one's going to be flat adhered, and with using the rule of dot, dot, not a lot. You can literally dot or just create the little snail trail. The important thing is that you don't apply too much. We are going to have about a 1/8 inch border, top, bottom, left. Press that down. Oh, Sandy, I hope that you give this surprise pop-up a try. You could do it with any bundle. It doesn't have to be Lily of the Valley. Any pretty flowers would do. And I think right now Stampin' Up! Has quite a few choices. So we're doing our right panel there. It's coming along. Let me close that up. Let's see. We got the white, we got the coordinating paper. I kept it fairly simple because the main attraction is the inside surprise, right? We want the recipient to get a little hint of what's coming without bonking them over the head. So we're gonna finish this up. This part's gonna be added with dimensionals. Very simple, and I colored the tall flowers just as I did that small spray on the insert. And I'm using mini dimensionals here and standard dimensionals. So mini for the flowers. They fit perfectly behind the little buttercups of flowers. And you just want to support them where you can. Down, and then down. All right, and then for the little leaves, now this one I stamped in garden green, and I used the coordinating fill stamp. So I have the outline stamp in garden green, and the fill stamp is garden green again, but I stamped off, so it's second generation. And on this one, I'm going to put a couple of dimensionals as well. Right there. And I'm going to start off with my tall stem. So let's see. Taking off all those little backings and putting it in, and I want it to cross over between the white into the pattern paper, and I want it sort of low. There we go. Right there. I'm going to add the little pair of leaves. And right in through here, right, almost forms like a little V in there. And the happy birthday also comes from the stamp set. So I pre-stamped it on a little scrap of basic white using black ink. And this is going to be popped up with dimensionals just at the outside corners so that we don't double stack. Oh, looks like that was a second attempt. And that is one of the things I always recommend, is that you stamp first before you attach, because you can always flip the paper over. If it didn't come out perfectly, you have a second try. I'm going to put this right up here, happy birthday. And we are going to finish it off with a few little embellishments. Let's see where I've placed my embellishments. All right, so I am using the coordinating embellishments called Shimmer Dots. And let's see, I know these are opened already. I am going to take those pretty white ones, use my take your pick, and I'm going to start with a pair at the bottom. There. One larger, one smaller. And then I'm going to put a couple at the top as well, kind of crossing over the pattern paper and the basic white. And you got it, we're using 4. So toss away that rule of 3 embellishments, 1, 2, 3, 4. I did kind of angle them in one direction here, and then so almost like a 45-degree angle, and then coming down opposite direction there. And I'm going to add one more because I just remembered I need to fix that goof and bring it right in there. And it's going to form my little triangle. I want it loose. So I've got my triangle going on there. All right. Here is our pop-up surprise. Happy birthday to one of the nicest people I know. Let me move those aside. And if you love this Lily of the Valley, sweet, let me show you what we're making in this month's guided workshop. So the interactive card is not part of the class. It's just something that you can create along with your leftover supplies. So card number 1 is very simple with a little not so fussy cutting. We have card number 2. We add a few simple die cuts and a go-to layout. And we're using the colors pulled right from the paper. I love that Darling Duckling and the Granny Apple Green, the Garden Green. They all look so pretty together. We're going to step it up with a little bit of texture in a frame and lots of die cuts for another happy birthday card. And then finally, we're going to create this beautiful, let's see if I can get in here, diagonal gatefold card for a little extra. Hey, how did they do that? There we go. I love it. And it shows off that beautiful paper. Ooh, can you see this features a new product that's coming up, those rectangles that complement the Spotlight on Nature dies. These are squares. The Spotlight on Nature dies are circles. Okay, so 4 cards, 4 different approaches, and plenty of ideas that you can use again and again with other stamps and papers. So your class, let's see if I can push that up just a little bit. Your class will include your prepped kit, all the card bases, all the extra die cuts that you will need. If it's part of the bundle, I won't die cut for you, but I will supply all the extra die cuts you will need. It includes a share of the pattern paper and, oops, kind of got that too close. I don't cut the 12 by 12. I like to leave it intact. Beautiful papers, those Lily of the Valleys in different color schemes. You've got some bordered prints, some great backgrounds. The smaller Lily of the Valley, I love this little geometric in basic white. And then it also has the solids and patterns on the back. So great paper. You will get a share of that. You will get a full pack of the shimmer dots. Of course, you're going to get your guided tutorial with lots of photos and instructions so that you can recreate these cards on your own. Let's see, the kit to go is $30. If I'm shipping, you have to pay the $10 shipping. The registration closes on August 20th. And you can also add on the Lily of the Valley bundle for just list price with no extra tax or shipping. And if you already have all of the materials, you just want the guided workshop, you can also purchase that as well. Let's see. Today's pop-up shows where all of these new ideas can take you. So let's look at the bouquet one more time on its own. I love it. Beautiful on the outside, and then a little paper hug waiting on the inside. Eek. The recipient is going to squeal. So if today's project inspired you, I hope that you will like the video, share it with somebody, and leave me a comment, please, that you popped in. Thanks so much for joining me for Coffee in the Classroom today. Remember, you don't have to know every step before you begin. Sometimes you just need a little prepared kit and a little friendly guidance from your stamp teacher. And of course, a little cup of coffee to keep you going. So until next time, keep creating, and remember to send the cards and make somebody's day. Thanks so much for joining me.